to love people. That's the only answer. To be friendly and love people. Never see the wrong on anybody, right? Mm-hmm. Never. Reaching and cannot touch it. And I call it a reach. It has a significance for me. That you want to reach for the sky and you cannot touch it.
You were born in 1919.
Right.
Okay. And you
ancient.
And you were born where?
Warsaw, Poland.
Yes. And
in the same apartment where we were chased out from.
Right. And your parents didn't own that apartment. They rented that apartment,
no,
right?
That's right.
And they always rented an apartment their whole lives.
Before I was born, they lived in the same street, but in a different apartment. But when my youngest brother, who was older than I, because my brothers came before me.
Right.
Then after my youngest brother, I had a sister, and she died in the First War of scarlet fever. There was no such thing.
There were 5 of you.
We were 6, but my sister died.
Right, okay. So your brothers' names?
Was Shimon, Lipa Mendel, and Edward. Helen was born 4 years after I was born. And she was the baby.
Yeah.
And I used to babysit. When Mom went shopping, Mom never worked.
Right.
Never. My father provided enough for the whole family.
So you used to babysit Helen, and then you guys lived your whole lives together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We even survived together.
Yes. Okay, so...
And I kept her up because she was very negative, and I kept telling Helen, we had to survive to talk about it.
That's true. Okay, so I want to talk about your first husband, because you were married twice.
Yeah.
The first time you married for love.
Love. Oh, God.
The second time you married for comfort.
Exactly, for companionship.
And I want to show this picture.
That's my first husband.
Right. Okay, what was his name?
Abram.
And where did you meet him? And what year? Because you were...
The year must have been... I met him. He lived as a boarder at a neighbor. That's how I met him. And I fell in love with him. At first I hated him because he was trying to push. So, but then hate turned into love. And my parents did not that they didn't like him, because they were afraid that he adopted his father's selfishness.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. So, but then he was so devoted to my parents.
What year did you marry him?
1939, during the war.
Yeah, were you 19 or 20?
20.
You were 20.
Yeah.
And then you were still in Warsaw then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Still, then they formed the Warsaw ghetto.
Well, yeah, in 39 or in 40?
39.
39, okay.
Yeah. The ghetto started at 39. And we were not.
So in the ghetto. Paint the picture for me when you got married. Where you lived, was it one room with how many people?
Was my brother, my first husband, myself, my parents. They were still alive. Then one day, he said to us, because we were hiding from the Germans, and my father said, I have working papers, so you go ahead we had a special hiding place in a basement under the yard, the backyard, and only we had the key to that basement. Nobody else, because my father kept his leather in that place.
Oh wow! I didn't.
He was a leather merchant.
Right. So you didn't have any privacy when you were first married.
No, there was no such thing. After all, we were 5 kids. My oldest brother was already married and he had a family, but he escaped to the Russian zone because he was a doctor. And they were looking for intelligentsia.
Okay. So
they were looking for him.
I know. So when you got taken from the ghetto, you were...
I wasn't taken. I
went.
Yeah.
Yep.
And my husband and I, after we got married, we wanted to get married before the war.
Right.
But he was eligible for the army. So my father said, I don't want to have a grass widow in my house. It was customary before you got married to stay home.
Right.
In Europe.
Right. So you walked from the ghetto, and why did you decide to leave?
Because they were looking for young people for forced labor.
Okay. And so you went with your husband.
Yeah.
And your brother.
No. No. My brother remained because he was married to an American girl, and she took her sweet time to sponsor my brother. So he never left, and he stayed home. And we asked him to escape to the Russian zone. And he said, how can I escape? Then I won't be able to come to America. And
so you left with your husband.
Yeah.
And where were your parents then?
Stayed home in Warsaw.
Okay. And so
in the ghetto.
Right. So when you first left the ghetto, where did you go?
Every place, any place we could earn a living.
Okay. And then when did you get?
First of all, we had a neighbor next to my father's business. They had a drugstore, so we went to them. And they found a place in Praga. That's outskirts of Warsaw. And that's where we went. And I was in touch with these people. They even sent me some money.
How did you end up at the camp?
Because it was safer in the camp than to be free.
Why?
At least you had food, whatever it was.
So what happened? So your husband, you got separated from your husband in the camp?
In one of the camps, one day he came home because he used to go out to work. He came home, he saw me from a distance, and he thought that they are taking me to die. But they took us to a different camp in Praga.
But you were always with Helen?
Yes, always.
Always slept with Helen?
The only time we were separated was when I went with my husband away from home during the ghetto life. Then we reunited and never separated again till she died.
Right. So I want to ask you, moving forward, when the war was over, tell the great story about how you were liberated.
I kept saying to Helen, she was very negative, and she kept saying, no, we're not. I said,
never
give up.
Never.
We have to fight. We have to live to talk about it.
Right.
And talking I do.
How did you hear that the war was over?
Oh, we saw the Russians. And I said, Helen, the war is over. Because the Russians came from the north and the Americans came from the south. And during that time, when we had a room together, Helen and I, we had to put the boulders on to lock the door because the Russians were raping women like crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
But that never happened to you.
Oh no, thank God,
yeah.
Please. They were so dirty, smelly.
So wait, then, okay, so tell me about losing your first husband during the war. How did you know that you lost him?
And one day, after we were separated, I saw him from a distance. And they took us to a different camp. That's all I knew.
All you knew.
And one day some of the Polish people said it was an action, they called it. And they killed the people. That's all I know.
That's all you knew. And then your parents you never saw again,
no.
Right?
No.
And
my father was gone before, and then Helen remained in the ghetto with Mom. That's all I know.
So when the war was over and you went to get a room, then how did you make it to the United States?
We were liberated south of Poland, near Germany.
Okay.
So I knew somebody told me that where my first husband was, that camp was liberated,
Eliminated.
That's all I know.
Right. So you moved, and then how did you make it to the United States?
Sponsored by my brother. My middle
The
brother.
girl who took her good old time.
Yeah.
Yep, because she was here. So that's how you made it here. Where was the first place that you lived here?
New York.
You came through Ellis
Manhattan.
Island?
Yeah.
You were at Ellis Island?
No.
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 Yeah. You,
Ellis Island was years before.
years before, yeah. And so you came to Manhattan by boat.
Oh, by a tug. Helen was very sick
Yes,
on
you
the
told me
boat.
that.
I said, Helen, why don't you come out and stay upstairs on the deck so you will feel better. No, she was very stubborn.
Yeah. You couldn't have a baby,
No.
so you went to the doctor.
And I told him that I would like to have a baby. And he said, well, it's up to you. And then we went to see, and I fell in love. I saw that baby. He was so cute.
But the next day, what happened after you went to
I
the
don't
doctor?
remember.
You told, well, this is what you told me.
What?
See if I'm right. That you told the doctor that you wanted to have a baby.
Yeah.
And the next day, a baby was at your doorstep. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And that was my son. God bless him. He's such a good man. He is the top. He was, I never say that he was adopted. I always say he was born for me and my daughter was born to me. Never say adopted. And he is just as good as can be, as a son can be. He's marvelous. Calls me practically every day. And no sooner does he have a chance, he comes to see me. He lives in LA.
And Blanche lives in San Francisco, right?
Yeah. She lives up north.
Right.
And she was born to me. After we got our son, and the doctor said to me when I got pregnant, he said to me, it's very typical. Your mind was relaxed. You had a child and you conceived. Gave birth to my daughter. So that's what I say. He was born for me, she was born to me. Never did I ever say adopted.
So I want to ask you a little bit more about how you've always been so positive and
My entire life.
yes.
My entire life, because I don't know who I was taking after. I think it was my father.
Your father was he had a very sunny disposition too.
Yeah, yeah.
Talk a little bit about Blanche. We'll talk a little bit about her.
She's a good girl. Where does she live? She lives up north.
Yes.
And she is in touch with me every day, almost. And my son, God bless him, that's why I say she was born to me, he was born for me. I
So-
never say adopted, because after we got David, and David is named after my mother, and my mother's name was Dvorah.
So explain in the Jewish religion why you name people after people that have gone away.
I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't know, because it was typical to name after a person who passed away, who was old enough to pass away.
And you want to honor them and remember them.
Right, right.
And then when you moved to New York, and then what year did you come to California?
Helen and I, we were inseparable. So when Marty lived here in California, and he said, "Mom, what are you doing in New York? Come here, it's so nice." So she said, "Okay, we will live. We will come to stay with you." But she never said, "I will come." She always said, "We will come," because we were inseparable. Unfortunately, she left me. And I still miss her.
Who weighed more, you or who weighed more, you or Helen?
Helen weighed more.
She did.
Yeah, I was very skinny. But she was more broader than I.
She was.
Yeah.
And so, what do you think made you inseparable?
We were brought up that way. That was customary in Europe, to be very close. When I see brothers and sisters around here and they don't know of each other, I feel bad.
I don't understand that either, Rosalie.
No.
I agree with you 100%.
You don't, you have siblings?
Yeah, my sister.
Oh.
You met my sister.
Yeah, I did.
My sister and my brother. So we talk to each other almost every day too. That's the way
And
it
I
should
miss
be.
her. I miss her a great deal.
Well, she was, you know what?
She was bossy.
She was very bossy. She was very...
She liked to boss everybody.
Including me. I mean, she weighed half of what I weigh, and she was half as tall as me, and she bossed me around.
No, but she weighed more than I do.
I know. I know. So tell me a little bit about keeping kosher and what that means to you.
I follow my parents.
Okay.
They always kept kosher. And I don't know if I ever tasted anything that was not kosher.
So what's not kosher to you?
That wasn't killed right. It wasn't kept kosher, because to keep kosher you have to soak it for a half an hour in water to draw all the blood out. Then you salt it, and to penetrate the salt into the meat, that means keeping kosher.
Right. And keeping kosher to you is not having also no shellfish.
No shellfish, no pork.
No milk and meat together.
No, no.
But you don't eat much meat now.
Whatever I can, but it's still separated.
Sure.
I have two sets of dishes, dairy dishes and meat dishes. And I never mix it.
And same with silverware.
Yeah. Well, dishes, I meant everything.
Right, everything. Okay, so I want to talk just a little bit more about your personality. Can I do that?
You talk.
No, I want to know why you think everybody loves you, because everybody does love you. Everybody.
I don't know. I am pleasant. I listen to everybody. And children are the most precious thing to me, because we lost 1.5 million children during the Holocaust. And that is embedded in me, because I can't express
that. Yeah, I understand. So, but let's go back to why people love you. Because you have a very pleasing personality.
Thank you.
Because you ask about people and you love people.
Yes, I do.
and you remember things about people that is pretty amazing to me.
Well, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
And you also, at 96, you still volunteer.
I'm trying.
Yes. And
I don't feel my age.
you don't.
No. No. Sometimes I do when I get tired, but otherwise I don't feel, am I that old? I'm ancient.
No. So one of the things that you do when you volunteer with me, remember what we do when we go to that church?
Right. I still miss it.
Well, we'll go again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Take
we'll go
me.
again. Yeah, I'll take you.
I love to help people.
Sure.
And it's in me because my mother was like, my father was also, but my mother was closer to people than my father was. After all, he was a businessman. So I follow my mother's whatever.
So why do you think that people, wherever you go, people are attracted to you and want to hear your stories? Not just about the Holocaust, just about your life. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe because they like me, maybe. Maybe they like my face, my ugly face.
You have a beautiful face. So you've always cut your own hair?
Yeah.
And never any makeup?
No, I can't. I'm allergic.
To all makeup?
Oh, God. Somebody tried to give me a facial. I'm talking in Israel. And she said that's non-allergic. God Almighty, I couldn't get rid of it because it was itching like hell. I'm allergic. I can't wear makeup.
What's your favorite color?
Purple.
What's your favorite food?
There is no such thing.
Yeah. You don't live to eat, you just eat to live, right?
Right.
What's your favorite flower?
Rose.
Yeah.
And iris.
Oh, you like irises?
We raised it in Europe. We had a balcony. We lived on the top floor, on the 6th floor, and we had a balcony, and on the yard rim were boxes with roses.
Did your first husband bring you flowers?
Huh?
Did your first husband ever bring you flowers?
My father did.
He did?
My father, he was raising the roses. My father did. Nobody touched it.
Just him?
Just that.
You've always had a garden.
Boxes. Outside on the balcony, on the rim, there were boxes. That's where we had the roses planted, always. Because we lived on the 6th floor, and there was no such thing as gardens, except when we looked outside, we saw across the street, because the front building was lower. So we looked across the street. There was a military whatever. So we could see, and they let us, nobody else did they let in. During the war, when we were in hiding from the Germans, they let us in. And before the war, when it was bombardment, the next door was a drugstore from
Okay. So hey, can you do something for me? Can you sing? Can you translate my Yiddish mama and just say what it is? And would you sing it?
Ich will bei euch a Kasche fragen. I want to ask you a question. Bij wem is de vermegen to who there is the most richest a second one you never get? You feel that by yourself? Oh, when you lost her, you cry and you sigh without the end. A jiddische Mame. Oi, baby, bitte, wenn sie fehlt. How bad it is when she's gone. My jiddische Mame.
Of all the things that you've learned in your life, what would you say are the most important?
To love people. That's the only answer. To be friendly and love people. Never see the wrong on anybody, right? Mm-hmm. Never.